In a nation faced with perennial epileptic power supply, 2 weeks of complete blackout in northern parts of Nigeria have further added to citizens' woes. While the Minister of Power assures that electricity will be restored in 72 hours, many residents have lamented the effect of the power outage on their businesses. Our correspondents across the nation, across the affected northern states, report.
In the northeast states, while Borno is showing some resilience by utilizing its gas station to mitigate the effect of power cuts, Taraba and Adamawa states have continued to grapple the bitter experience of blackout, crippling business activities in the state.
This issue of electricity has affected almost 90% of our business. We have machines that without the electricity they cannot work. And we don't have the capacity to acquire a big industrial generator.
Total blackout is bringing down of many to northerners. For example, I had a news that last week someone was saying because of this blackout of 1 week, it's more than 10 billion naira northerners have lost in their businesses. And it gives us a difficult to do our businesses.
In the northwest states of Kano, Kaduna, Katsina, and Sokoto, residents are trapped in the same fate of untold hardship as vandals continue to exploit the situation, attacking critical power installations within the states. Small business owners continue to groan over the worsening power cuts as health and academic activities also suffer the blackout.
For over 2 weeks, we've not been having light. And then people are taking advantage of the no light to increase the prices of charging phones. And we are students now. In our area, to charge one phone, they'll be calling 200 naira. To charge power bank, they'll say from 300 naira upwards. And then businesses are slowing down because of the no light.
I just pray that the authorities in charge should do something about it.
It's been 3 weeks now. Phones are dead. Even when you try to reach people, it's just the light issue affecting everybody. It's whoever that is in charge, they should try and help us.
Did our analysis and we found out the cost for replacement of these very cables that were vandalized, and we got a total sum of over 2.5 million naira presently that will be used to fix all these vandalized items. And presently, we are trying to put heads together to see how we can meet with the discos. We've made some efforts and some actions have been taken, but we are still waiting to see their reaction and how they can come in so that we'll put heads together and get this fixed as soon as possible.
Most of the welders around here have not been operational for almost more than a week now. And people that have cold rooms has been affected. Even the houses, domestic houses, like my freezer, a lot of things got spoiled there because of the outage. And I know most people around the community had the same. You know, you had food stored and everything got spoiled because of the outage.
In the north central states, it's been a harrowing twist of fate that Niger State, which is home to 4 major hydroelectric power dams, is not spared from the nightmare of poor power supply amid the resulting hardship. For other states like Kogi and Plateau, business owners lament the unbearable cost of lack of power.
It tells about the country we find ourselves. Instead of improving, upgrading, we are day by day degrading, which is not giving our leaders a better name. Our reputation is very bad because of these issues. We are talking about the skyrocketed price of food and the high price in NEPA billing. Again, there's no light to use.
We that do business, it's really, not that it's affecting, it's affecting us. So everything is just crumbling. So my appeal to the president, we should just talk to the Minister of Power so that they should just fix this power for us. Mostly, us that is doing business, it's really affecting us. So we are not finding things easy at all.
Hoping it's just God. We are just looking on to God to help us and to see us out of this condition we find ourselves. Because our children, even to use light for them to see or to read, is very difficult.
The district's appeal for a quick intervention by the federal government to fix power has not gone unnoticed, as President Bola Tinubu has ordered all government agencies to ensure a swift power restoration amid the issue of incessant attacks on power line installations across Nigeria.
Well, joining us now is Prince Adetunji Adeyeye, former regulatory specialist at Association of Nigerian Electricity Distributors, ANED, currently an energy market specialist and electricity generator. Good morning, sir, and welcome to the program.
Good morning. How are you, Nigerians?
Very well, thank you. All right, well, let's get straight into it. Between vandalism, dilapidated infrastructure, and all of the challenges that are stemming from that, Nigerians are in darkness for one reason or the other, whether it's a power grid collapse and different parts of the country at different times. And amidst all of this, people are still expected to pay a premium for their electricity. Can you unpack what you make of this current situation we find ourselves in?
Oh, sadly, it's a very bad situation that we find ourselves. I think grid instability and disturbances have happened too frequently, and it shouldn't be happening. I would say that everybody is to be blamed. We've been reactionary rather than being proactive. Certainly, grid has suffered from lack of adequate expansion program and rehabilitation program. I think we abandoned a core document that was actually produced by TCN, which detailed the technical roadmap of fixing our grid. It is called the Transmission Rehabilitation and Expansion Program, TREP. In that document, all the solutions are there. The protection mechanisms are there, the relay coordination issues are there, the alternative expansion route or gateways are there, but I think we've not necessarily prioritized our need in terms of, repositioning our power sector. That's what I would say. Sadly, it shouldn't be happening, but it has happened. And we should all put all hands on deck to make sure that we get it right, that we are working to fix this immediately.
Okay, let me rephrase the question differently. Now, of all the problems that have been identified, which would you say has been the major problem? Or which of those problems will you say have been the major problems? Lack of investment, poor infrastructure, over-centralization of the grid, energy theft, vandalism, or, the problem with the transmission company. These are some of the factors that we have been given. Now, the federal government is saying, go and fix the grid collapse within 2 weeks. Go and fix. They also have issues in Bayelsa for about a week now, 8 days, in the north for 2 weeks. Is this something that can be fixed in 1 or 2 weeks? Or we will continue to have grid collapse, which has become a self-fulfilling prophecy and may be a problem that cannot be solved for the next 2 years at the very minimum? What do you think?
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Abati. I think the answer is brutally no. This problem can be fixed in 2 weeks. Those are political statements. You don't even fix a problem without knowing the root cause. And the root causes are some of the things that you've mentioned. Sadly, our infrastructure has been inadequately maintained. They are old, they are dilapidated. There have been really not significant or adequate investment in the power sector. So all those problems cannot be fixed in 2 weeks. I think what we need to do is to probably, do the band-aid treatment of course, stopping the bleed, the blood bleeding, right? That can be done quickly, but to solve the electricity problem and to make sure that we have availability, accessibility, will take, unfortunately, some time to come. And that's going to be doing all the issues that you mentioned, both in terms of a continuous investment, in terms of expanding and strengthening the network, in terms of combating energy theft, in terms of, putting the monetary system in place, as well as backing that up with good policies, both regulatory and government policies. All these things cannot be done in 2 weeks, unfortunately.
Okay, so I hear you cannot be done in 2 weeks. So what's a more realistic time frame? And now that the president has given marching orders to say that, okay, we need to fix this problem, it shows that this administration is now serious about tackling it. What are some of the quick wins? What are some of the things that they must do? We've talked about investment. Okay. Also, the minister talked about a super grid and decentralizing the grid so that we have regional grids or state grids, so that when the grid, national grid collapses, the entire nation is not plunged into darkness. What do you think about this, and what are some of the recommendations for immediate response to this power challenge that we have?
Certainly, I would align with the minister on one part that, investing in the grid, decentralizing it is certainly a way to go. Providing alternative gateway for transportation and distribution of energy is certainly a way to go. Particularly if you look at the north, where the problem that have happened recently had significant impact. There has been limited gateway for energy transmission in the north. Particularly the northeast and the northwest is served by just one line currently, the just Kaduna 330 kV line. There's a solution already in place. In fact, the other work has been done by TCN in the past, which is to really construct another line from top to bottom. And that line has been constructed on the Kaduna just as is. That line is taking power from Ogwaji to Apai down to Kaduna from Jos. That line is complete, ready to go. It will take energy from Jeba transmission station and all this area, immediately to that area if we just put in 2 bays. What has stopped that work is the installation of 2 bays, the receiving bay and the sending bay. Those are quick fix. The minister and, of course, the MD of TCN can quickly put in those bay, and then, you at least immediately relieve that problem within the north in terms of energy evacuation and accessibility. I think that's, first of all, a quick win. You don't need to construct anymore. The line is already there. Just complete it by putting the bay. I think that's really the quickest and the magic one that the Minister of Power or the MD of TCN can wave to solve that problem in the interim.
All right. Now, the Electricity Act of 2023 was supposed to be a saving grace for a lot of these problems, but it seems that most of the states are reluctant to jump onto this legislation to be able to move their states forward and to be able to give their states sustained and stable electricity. What are the hitches? What do you think the states are taking so long and are so reluctant to embark on implementing this act that's supposed to make life easier?
Okay, so for the state to take advantage of the new Electricity Act, takes a lot of things. First of all, they have to localize those acts into their own state legislation by creating state regulatory bodies in their state. That has to go through their own state legislation. That's a process. They have to create the physical office of the state regulators. They have to create different stakeholders, mini regulators and stakeholders, offices, and maybe intervention within the state itself before they can even start talking about investment. And of course, power is very expensive. Most states, do they have money to really start generating and distributing and transmitting power? That's a question they have to answer. But I think it's also not really the silver bullet that a lot of people think. You need a lot of investment. You need a lot of structure building before you can actually take that advantage. And I doubt very few states in Nigeria would actually be able to take advantage. Maybe a few states like Lagos, Port Harcourt, or states where they have gas supply, but most states wouldn't be able, especially if states are struggling to pay civil service and other functions of public good. I doubt if states really be able to take advantage of that Electricity Act, except some states. Let me even give an example. You know, the right-of-way issues alone, it's a big monster for even states to deal with. For the just Kaduna 330 land I was talking about, it took the very serious work and a fight of former governor of Kaduna State El-Rufai to actually get the right-of-way issue solved, to have that land constructed. Now you can now imagine what sort of problem state governor will be dealing with, have to pay for right of issue, compensation, all of that. So it's not really a quick win for state governors if they think the Electricity Act would really bring quick power to people. I think while we should explore the Electricity Act, the focus of the federal government must still be to keep pushing TCN and the Minister of Power to invest and revamp the national grid itself. I think that will be the really overriding objective or maybe solution that I'll be pushing at this point.
Well, I mean, clearly there are some states in Nigeria who are already taking advantage of the Extant Act with regard to electricity. You have Oyo, you have Lagos, you have Abia, you have Enugu, you have Ondo. But the issue really is about the national grid, this over-centralized national grid. But one other solution that we have heard in the literature is about renewables. And there's been a lot of talk that, look, Nigeria has great capacity and potential for renewables. Why do you think nobody is going in that direction and taking it seriously? Is it because of investment, or is it because of a lack of understanding of what renewable options can possibly do to expand the availability of energy in Nigeria?
Okay, I think why there hasn't been a good movement on the renewable, first of all, is cost. The cost of investment initially, it's high. I think also there has not been enough study to justify the revenue assurance that will come from that sort of investment. Even the national power that we put on the grid have been stolen most of the time. So investors are not really keen about investing in the renewable because they don't see the appetite of Nigerians able to pay and afford the kind of cost that will initially accompany those kind of sources of energy. I think that's essentially, majorly the problem. Also, I also think there is also significant lack of interest by politicians, especially, I don't want to name and blame any politician, but sometimes you have to say this, and there have been lack of interest by some politicians, especially if you look at the North, where we have really acute and huge power problem in the recent weeks. They've not paid attention to what they should. They've not really taken time to study the power need of their people, So for renewables to be really a big alternative that we must explore in Nigeria, there has to be a very robust national plan that guides everybody towards it. And of course, the politicians and people and the political stakeholders must begin to look at it seriously and see how they can take advantage of that to solve the power gap and the power need of Nigerians.
All right, final question here. Let's talk about cost. So it's often said that, well, just very briefly, you can respond to this, that players in the electricity industries often say that we're not paying cost-reflective tariff. What would cost-reflective tariff mean in terms of, if we have the constant power supply, how much would Nigeria be paying for electricity?
Okay, cost is a product and it has its, electricity and power is a product and it has its cost. For you to know what true cost of power is simple. Just look at the source of the fuel of the power. Is it gas? Is it hydro? Those have base cost, and then you can easily build up your cost. To give an example of what tariff is reflective or is adequate for a kilowatt of electricity, you don't need to look too far. Look at Benin Republic or Ghana or Togo. They are buying electricity for an average of about 600, 700 kilowatt hour. I'm not saying that Nigeria should pay that, but I mean, if you really want true 24/7 electricity, you have to be ready to pay for that cost, either by direct payment or by way of subsidy of government intervention. There's no two-way about it. Revenue drive investment, and investment follow where the money is. Unfortunately, in Nigeria, in the power sector, the money has not really been the key assurance for investment and investors in our power sector adequately.
All right. Well, thank you very much for your time with us this morning, Prince Adetunji Adeyeye.